Okay, so let's talk about this. Picture this. You're working on something, deadline's looming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just stuck. You know someone, maybe on your team, maybe another colleague, they have exactly what you need, that piece of info, that bit of expertise.
Yeah, you can almost picture who it is.
Exactly. So you're maybe in a meeting or you start typing an email, you try to ask for the help,
Hmm.
and it just sort of comes out weird,
Yeah. Hesitant.
hesitant, vague. Like, hey, I was just wondering if maybe
Yeah.
sometime you could potentially look at something for me.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
And then what happens? Nothing, right? Or maybe a polite nod, but it goes nowhere.
Crickets. The conversation just moves on.
Or the email just vanishes into the inbox abyss,
Yeah.
and you're left needing that support. You try to ask, but it didn't work. You feel unheard. It's frustrating, isn't it?
It really is. And if that sounds familiar to you listening, you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting to think about why that happens, why the hesitation. The source material we've been digging into, it actually talks about this directly. It names those fears people have.
Like what? What are the big ones?
Well, the fear of sounding unprepared, that's a huge one.
Okay.
Like asking for help means you're admitting you don't know everything you should know. Or maybe that you'll seem weak, incapable.
Totally. It feels like showing a weak spot, like admitting vulnerability.
Exactly that. And the sources point out that in some places, some work cultures, asking for help is actually seen as risky.
Really? Like actively discouraged.
Yeah, or at least perceived that way. It might get misinterpreted, like you haven't tried hard enough or you're not prepared. But then the sources contrast this. In many English-speaking professional settings, the dynamic can be quite different.
How so?
Well, often, clear, respectful requests for input, collaboration, they're actually valued.
Okay.
They kind of expect that dialogue. They appreciate open communication when people need to, work together to figure things out.
So there's this potential clash, right? If your background, maybe your past experience, taught you asking for help is, well, dangerous. How do you bridge that gap, especially when you need to ask confidently, professionally, in English?
Well, that's exactly what we're aiming to do in this deep dive.
Oh.
We're going to unpack the source material, find a clear way through this challenge, and it offers this specific structure, a kind of formula.
A formula for asking for help. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and it's not just theory. It's designed to be practical, something you
Yeah.
can use right away in meetings, emails, even just daily chats at work.
Okay, great. Let's get into it.
Right, so the sources lay out this really quite powerful four-step formula.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind it is making your request not just, heard, but actually easy for the other person to grasp
Easy to understand.
and easy to respond to. That's key.
Okay, let's break it down. Step 1. It says here, make a clear, specific request. Sounds simple. Maybe deceptively simple.
It does sound simple, yeah. But that's often where people stumble right at the start.
How?
Yeah.
By being vague, like my earlier example.
Exactly like that. Get your thoughts, quick question, feedback sometime. It's all a bit fuzzy.
Uh-huh.
A clear request is precise. It's about stating exactly what you need. Like, can you review section 3.1 of this report? Or, I need the specific data point on Q3 sales growth for Europe.
Got it. So be direct. No beating around the bush. Just state the ask. Okay. Step 2 then. Provide context. How much is just enough context? I can see people either giving way too little or, like, way too much background.
That's a really good point. Just enough relevant context is the goal. The sources really emphasize this. You don't need to give them the whole project history
Right.
or list every single hurdle you faced. Just give them the background they need to understand why you're asking now or why you need their specific input.
Like,
Maybe it's tied to a deadline, like I'm working on the Q4 proposal, it's due Friday,
yeah.
and I need this data point to finish the financial projections. That's context.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a blocker, or you need their decision to move forward.
Perfect. So connect the dots for them, but quickly. Not the whole backstory, just the essential why this matters now. Okay. And step 3. This feels really important. Explain why you're asking that specific person, maybe that specific group. Why is that so crucial?
It's crucial because, well, first, It respects their time.
Okay, yeah.
And second, it acknowledges their unique expertise or role. It makes the request feel less like you're just, randomly lobbing a problem at whoever's nearby.
Right, not just passing the buck.
Exactly. It feels more like you came specifically to them because you value what they bring. The sources suggest phrases like, I'm coming to you because I know you handled this client before, or
Okay.
you built the original model for this so you'd spot any issues, or even, I know you're the one who needs to sign off on this type of change.
Okay, I see. That definitely changes the feel of it. It makes the other person feel valued, right? Like their specific skill or position is genuinely needed.
Precisely.
Not just that they drew the short straw and got your problem. Subtle, but yeah, powerful difference. Okay, and the final step, step 4. Clear next steps and how you'll follow up. What does that look like?
This is about making it super easy for them to actually respond, to say yes, or at least understand what they're committing to.
Right.
So is it a specific action they need to take? Is there a deadline for their part? How will you get the information back or the feedback?
Give me an example.
Sure, like if you could send me that data point by, say, end of day tomorrow, I can wrap up the projections, and then I can get the full draft to you for review by Wednesday. Or maybe, could you spare 15 minutes sometime this afternoon just to look at this one section? I can walk you through my questions really quickly.
Gotcha. So it defines the what happens next and what done looks like for their part.
Exactly. It sets expectations clearly for both sides.
Okay, so putting it all together, clear request, relevant context, why this person, and clear next steps, that structure.
Yeah, it feels incredibly solid compared to those vague, hesitant requests we talked about at the start.
That really does make a difference.
But you mentioned earlier, and the sources acknowledge this too, that not all workplaces are created equal, right?
Definitely not.
What if you are in one of those environments, maybe more rigid, maybe super competitive, where asking for help genuinely is viewed negatively, seen as weakness? The sources say that's not your fault, which is important.
Crucial point. Yeah, it's not about you failing.
Right. But how do you actually navigate that? Even with this great formula, if the culture punishes asking, what then?
That's a really important question, and it brings up the need for strategy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the source material, it doesn't just stop at the formula. It offers another angle for these trickier environments.
Okay.
It suggests that instead of directly asking for help or admitting you're stuck, you sort of reframe the request.
You frame it in a way that focuses on things that are valued in that culture, like shared goals or maybe alignment or efficiency.
Okay, so you're still getting the input you need, but you're presenting it differently. Is it like hiding the fact you need help? Or is it more about the presentation?
It's more about strategic presentation, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's about using the language that resonates in that specific environment.
Give me an example of reframing.
Okay, so instead of, I'm really stuck on this section, can you help me figure it out? You might say something like, hey, I want to make sure we're perfectly aligned on this part before I move forward. It's pretty critical. Would you be open to giving it a quick review just to ensure I haven't missed anything from your perspective?
Okay. So it's less, I need help because I'm stuck, and more, I'm being proactive to ensure we succeed, or let's double check this for quality because it's important for our shared goal.
Exactly that. It sounds proactive. It sounds focused on the outcome, on shared responsibility.
Right.
Another example the source gives is something like, I'd like to just check in with you on this, mainly to make sure we're meeting expectations for the final output. Could we maybe take 15 minutes just to run through it together?
Okay. That language feels very different. Proactive, outcome-focused, collaborative. Even though underneath, the reason you're asking might be because you hit a wall.
Precisely. It's a way to get that essential input, that guidance, maybe even a solution, but you're doing it in a way that fits the sort of unwritten rules of a place that might penalize perceived vulnerability.
That's like a communication pivot. Using the language the culture understands to get the support you need without putting yourself at risk. That's actually quite savvy. It's a tool for navigating difficult systems, not just a technique for ideal ones.
Yeah, it acknowledges reality for some people.
Okay, so we've covered the core formula for clear, confident requests and this reframing strategy for tougher spots. What does this all mean for you listening right now?
Yeah, let's bring it back to practical application.
Think about the next time. The next time you're working on something, maybe you hit a challenge and you know you need input from someone else at work. Based on what we've just talked about, that 4-step structure, clear request, context, why them, next steps, Or maybe that reframing idea.
Yeah.
What's just one specific thing you could try, one thing you might say or do differently the very next time you need to ask for help?
It doesn't have to be everything at once.
No, definitely not.
Mm.
Maybe just focus on making the request really clear, or remembering to say why you're asking that specific person.
Or maybe trying out one of those reframed phrases if you feel your environment calls for it.
Exactly. Just think about internalizing one small piece and trying it out. See how it feels, see what happens.